welcome to my channel. My name is Allison. Oh, that is terrible. My name is Allison, and this is my very first YouTube video. So, welcome to the family, welcome to the club, welcome to my living room. Hello. So, I am currently a flight attendant for a major U.S. airline, and I am also an aspiring model. I graduated from the illustrious Florida A&M University, and I currently reside in Chicago. So people always ask me, Allison, how did you become a flight attendant? How do you like it, the day-to-day? You know, everyone asks the same thing. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to start a YouTube channel because everyone's asking me the same thing. So we're all going to come to this platform so everyone can hear what I have to say. If you want to, it's up to you. But so I currently reside in Chicago. I've been a flight attendant for about 3 years. It'll be 3 years in March of next year. My process was, like I like to say, fast-tracked. So I graduated college in April 30th, 2016. I was hired with my airline in December of 2016, so that same year. So my process from start to finish was about 6-7 months. Now, if you talk to some people, they've been applying for years. For me, like I tell everybody, it was meant to be. It was my season. It was my time. So it just happened. So the very first airline that I applied for, I did not get it. So I applied, I did the assessments, and then I did the video interview. Bombed it. It was terrible. I knew it was. My setup wasn't right. You could probably see the slacks, the little pajama pants I had on in the video. I just didn't have it together. So then I did my second interview. Now for me, I did not let that one no deter me. I was like, you know what? This is meant for me. This is what I'm supposed to be. This is where I'm supposed to be. So I just kept applying. So a little backstory about me. I am 27 years old and just turned 27. My birthday was last month. Happy belated birthday to me. And I'm a Navy brat. So my father was in the military, and I did a lot of traveling as a child. I used to live in Spain. I used to live in Japan. I did 3 years in each, and I learned a lot, got to experience so many different cultures, and I really, really have traveling embedded in my DNA. That's what I say. I definitely feel like I had a leg up because I've been there before, done that. I'm used to having to become acclimated to different, cultures and backgrounds, and so I've been there. So for me, it wasn't a big adjustment. So I graduated college with a degree in education, and I don't know, soon after graduation, I was like, you know what, I'm not ready to teach. That's not something I want to do right now. So I just started applying for airlines. So we're going to fast forward to, I got my no from my first major airline. So my second one, I went in with the mindset that I was going to get the job. There was no. They weren't going to tell me no. I was in a place in my life where I needed this. So I went in with the mindset that this is where I'm going to work. This is going to be the airline that I'm going to work for, and they're going to tell me yes. So I did the online assessment, got, a few days later, maybe a week. It was probably a week, and then I got the video interview invite. So the video interview invite, I took a few days. I researched the company. Glassdoor, phenomenal. A lot of these Facebook pages, I was a part of them. I took some of the advice, but not all of it, because there's so many. Everyone has a different story. So you can't go with what one person is going to tell you, because 20 other people are going to have a completely different experience. So I took the bits and pieces, and I just went with what worked for me. So I waited about a week. I did research about the airline. I was ready for what they were going to throw at me. So I did the video interview. When I tell y'all, nailed it. I was in my kitchen. I had a little island, set up my chair. I set up my laptop. Bam, got to it. I was ready. You couldn't tell me that I wasn't going to get the job, baby, because I was ready. So I did the video interview. That was probably in maybe August, September-ish. So a few months, didn't hear anything. I'm still working at my I worked at a restaurant. I worked at Cracker Barrel for 4 years. I did that throughout the ends of college, and then I did it after I graduated because I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do and where I wanted to be. So lived in Tallahassee at that time. I'm just, doing whatever. So I was home for Thanksgiving. And of course, this is November. I was home for Thanksgiving, was in Walmart with my sister. And I'm just randomly checking my email. I don't know, weird. I just check my email anywhere. And I see that I have an email from the airline. And I'm like, oh, Lord, what is this? So it was an invite to a video, to the face-to-face interview. So I'm like, oh, Lord. Now, mind you, we're going to rewind. I was like, you know what? I hadn't heard from them. So I was like, I'm going to go to college again. I'm going to get my master's in education. So I'm like, you know what? Might as well. Educational leadership. It's where I want to be. I love kids. Why not? So, I was like, put the airline on the back burner because I hadn't heard anything from them. So I'm just waiting. I had already decided on it, got the email, and I talked to my mom and my sister, and I was like, you guys are already decided to go to grad school, so what should I do? And anybody that knows me knows my mama. Missionary was like, baby, whatever the Lord say do, you do it. So I'm like, Lord, hello, let me know. So I was like, you know what? I took the leap of faith. That, for me, changed my life. Me taking that leap of faith completely changed my life. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go. Why not? They're paying for me to go. Like, they're paying for the flight. All I need to do is get up and go. So went back to Tallahassee after Thanksgiving break, after being with my family for about a week. And then I went to H&M, honey. Let me tell you something. Went to H&M and I got me a nice little blue suit. Had me a nice little shirt with a little bow tie in the front, Had my little black little kitten heels, honey. Had that red lip. And at that time, I had a big old afro. So ladies, if you are natural, do not let your hair deter you from going for the job. Honey, I pulled that thing up in a high bun. We slicked the back. We slicked them edge. Toothbrush, baby. And we was ready to go. Okay? So I flew in the day before. Because they flew me out of Tampa. I was in Tallahassee. So sacrifice. You guys, sacrifice. At the time, I probably didn't have the money. But I found it. So I drove from Tallahassee to Tampa. I had a friend from college who I also worked with, and she moved to Tampa. So I stayed with her that night, flew out of Tampa, went to Dallas for my face-to-face, flew back to Tampa the very same day, right after, and then stayed with her the next night, drove back to Tallahassee the next day. So my process was, I wasn't even nervous, which scares me, because I can get nervous in certain type of situations, but I was so in the mindset that I was going to get the job that nothing fazed me. I was ready. So pulled up to the face-to-face. So I actually had gotten a hotel the night before because I wanted to be that prepared. So I paid for a hotel down the street from the conference center where they had their own premises. So I stayed down the street in a hotel, and I was prepared. I got my questions. I was reading. I was studying. I went to bed. I got breakfast. Like, I was just in that mindset that I was going to get the job. And also, I left the day before because I didn't want anything to happen. We all know airlines are unpredictable. So is the weather. So I was like, I'm going to get there a day before. I'm going to pay for me a hotel, and I'm not going to have to worry about it. That's a little $60, $70 out of my pocket. It'll come back to me tenfold. Not a problem. So I get to the training center, and of course you walk in. Now this is just my experience. This was from December of 2016. You walk in, there's chairs. A couple people are already there. So I sit down and, chit chat. This is the thing. When you go to an airline face-to-face, baby, you better have your A game and you better be friendly. They're not going to hire anybody that's mean in the corner, that's meek. You have to stand out, but you have to stand out in your own way. So for me, I use humor in everything. Honey, I love to laugh. We all gonna laugh together. It's just what we're gonna do. So we're all in a little group, chit-chatting. You're meeting people. You're making connections. Connections are key. We'll get back to that later. So then we're all taken into another room. So all the times that we came in, they were sporadic. So they backed it up, so that everybody wasn't coming in at the exact same time. Everybody was coming in about 10, 15 minutes behind each other. So it was a group of about 10 of us, 10, 15, maybe a small group. So we're taken to a bigger room where everybody else is. And they ask for your passport information. They're asking for, all the forms, things like that. I had everything printed out. I had everything in a folder. I had paper to write on, pen. I had all of that. Make sure you are prepared. They're looking for that. You may not think they're looking, but they're looking from the time that you walk into the building. There are eyes on you. So always be on your A game. So we're in the room, and it's about 50 of us in a room. So my face-to-face was 50 people. And we were broken up into 5 different tables, 10 people each. So we did a few icebreakers, few questions here and there. And then they broke us up into smaller groups. So the 50, we did our icebreakers, we did our group activities. Then they broke us up into smaller so we could do the small group discussion. So I had 2 interviewers in that small group discussion, and it was about 10 women. It was 10 ladies in that. So with that, there were speakers. So mind you, airlines do hire speakers. So if you speak another language and you're trying to get in, ding, 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 you need to see if your airline is hiring for a speaker. Obviously, you're going to go through the hiring process, and a lot of times you are fast-tracked because you are needed more than someone who does not speak a second language, who only speaks English or whatever language your airline, their first language is. So we were in a room about 10, and they asked, of course, why do you want to be a flight attendant? Ladies and gentlemen, I got to adjust myself for this. Please don't tell them people you want to travel. Okay? You a flight attendant. That's what you're going to be doing. So they don't need to know that you like to travel. Like, come on, y'all. We're going to take that answer out. Do not even think about that if you're in a face-to-face or your video interview when they ask you that question. Please, I beg of y'all, do not say that you like to travel. We get it, okay? We all got it. I'm pretty sure you wouldn't want to be a flight attendant if you did not like to travel. We got it. Think of something else. Think of something that caters to you. You. Your experience is yours. That is your own. No one else is going to have that experience but you. Cater your answers to your life. My answer was probably 1, of course I like to travel. Didn't say that though. Left that out. But traveling was embedded in me at a young age. I've had to become accustomed to a lot of different things and a lot of changes real quick. Because in the Navy, when they tell you to go, baby, you go. There's no, they pay for you to pack and move, and you on to the next country, next city. It's time to go. So that's something, I was used to that. I was used to that hustle and bustle and get up and go. And once you get comfortable, it's time to go. So we did our small group interview. They asked everyone, when they asked that single question, they asked everyone to get up and give their answer. Of course, they're going to give you a time frame. If they say 2 to 3 minutes, don't do 15, okay? Because they toned out. After that 2 to 3 minutes, it's gone. They gone, baby. They on to the next one. They writing in their little, okay, she talked too much. He talked too much. We're going to move on. Give them their 2 to 3 minutes, and let's move on. So did that process, and then we were broken up into even smaller groups. So we all go back to the bigger room. We do a couple more, 1 or 2 more group activities to get to know each other. And obviously they are getting to know you as a person based on your answers. So we do that. And then I think at this point, now this is my experience a few years ago. They started to call people's names. So unbeknownst to me, some people's names are being called because they're sending you back to the lobby to get on that bus and head back to the airport. Other people's names are to be called because we were going to get fingerprinted and they were doing background checks. So I was in the group where they sent us to a separate room, computers doing background checks, entering security information, all that good stuff. Did a reach test. That's just to see if you can reach into the overhead bin and reach some of the safety equipment that is above you that may be in an overhead bin. Obviously, they wanted to see if you could fit and buckle yourself into a jump seat. Those are seats you have to sit in. You need to be able to get in and out with no problem. And then fingerprinted. I got fingerprinted as well. So after that entire process, that took another maybe 30 minutes to an hour because it was like a group of us that were doing it. Filled out that paperwork, and then they sent us back out to where we first started, where you walked into the building, that seating area before you walked in. So of course, those are some people that were sitting there were the people that were told to go home. So of course, we're all exchanging stories. And disclaimer, just because you were fingerprinted and just because they did a background check and took you to a separate room does not mean you're hired, love. Get that out of your head right now. That does not mean you have the job. You have the job when you pass training. We're going to fast all the way past training. So at that point, we're all talking, exchanging information, you know, little tears. Some people are upset because you have to remember and you have to have a soft heart for the people who have been doing this for years. For me, this was my first face-to-face. This was my second airline that I applied for in a 6-7 month period. Like, I was already, my jump was fast-tracked, in my personal opinion. Boom, 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 it was ready to go. So you have to have a kind heart for the people who have been trying this route for a long time and just, they didn't get it. But like I say, everything happens for a reason. Go big or go home. So we all sitting there talking. My interview was on a Friday. I got my job offer that following Wednesday. So all of 5 days. Took 5 days and I got it. So at that point, they sent me all the information, you accept or deny. Of course, I accepted, honey. I was like, Mama. Baby, I called everybody. I'm like, I got the job. Mind you, I was at a job that I hated. I was ready to fight it. I was over it. So it came at the perfect time. So you know how some of us are, honey, somebody got on my nerves. I'm like, I don't even need this job, baby. I got a new one. But you know, we can't always be like that. So I had to bring it on back because I still needed my check. So at that time, I did have an apartment by myself. So when I got the job offer, I'm like, oh, shoot, I've only been in this apartment for 6 months. I still have 6 months left of my lease. Like, what am I going to do? God is real. Let me tell y'all how he is real. So I called my leasing office and I'm like, okay, so I got a new job and I have to go out of town for 6.5 weeks for training. Then once training is done, I have like less than a week and then I have to be in base to be at work. You know how they are. Oh, well, you know, you signed a lease. You either get someone to sublease or you're just going to have to pay the remainder of the balance. And I'm like, oh, baby, I ain't got thousands of dollars to pay y'all. So, collections it is. Sorry, mama. You ain't got to hear about that part. It didn't go to collections. I'm going to tell y'all what happened. So, tell y'all no lie. I was to start training February 6th, I want to say. Something like that in the beginning of February. No. Yes. 6.5 weeks. Something like that. I graduated in March. So started training that day. The day before my rent was due because I moved everything out. So I moved back home for the first, it was like a couple weeks before I went to Dallas to go to training for 6.5 weeks. Well, I moved everything out of my apartment and I put it in storage in Jacksonville, near my family. So did that. When I tell y'all, I was so stressed out. I prayed to God. I was like, Lord, I ain't got this money to pay these people. Jesus, I'm gonna be broke already, Lord. I ain't got it. Why did someone sublease my apartment the day before rent was due? When it is for you, it is for you. I'm sure. Smooth process. There's gonna be no bumps in the road. When it's for you, it's just straight. Ain't no straight, babe. Someone subleased my apartment the day before. So I was like, oh my God. Talk about a weight off. That is the understatement of the year. So day before rent was due, someone subleased it. Fast forward to the day I left for training. No one even knows this but my family. Y'all, why did I miss my flight to training? I missed it. So I'm like, oh my God, they're going to fire me. I can't even be on time to training, Jesus. They're going to fire me. I'm like, Mama, I'm on the verge of breaking down. Held it together. I was like, okay. So I go to the ticket counter. He's like, oh, it's no problem. There's a flight, you know, there's such time. There's a couple hours. So my mom had driven me to the airport. So I went ahead, checked my bags in, and then we just went to eat, came back, flew to Dallas. Roommate, that's my dog to this day. She cool. She from Louisiana. Go Saints. That's my dog. I had a great training experience. I've always been a good test taker, so it was never a problem when it came to the test. My issue came with the people. There is something to be said about someone that couldn't survive 6.5 weeks of training with 50 other individuals, 52, 53 other individuals that they do not know. I had not met any of these people before. Some of these people were in my face-to-face interview, but we were not seated at the same table, all except for one. Her and I were seated at the same table. Everybody else either was in a different interview or they were in my interview but in a different group, so I never got to really interact with them per se. So you are roomed with someone that you majority of the time do not know, I've never met before. So mind you, that's like going back to college. That's like me having a roommate in college, because I had just come from living by myself. So now I'm living with someone who this is the first time I've ever met them. Thank God she was a great roommate. We ain't had no problems. And I ended up, she was my first roommate along with 2 others when I moved to Chicago. So training was hard, being that I was a fine test taker, no problems waking up early, no problems being on time, none of that. It was just being around people that I didn't know. Like, people are like, oh, you went to college, like you were around thousands of people. Not like that. Tight quarters, though, that's your family for 6.5 weeks. That is who you confide in. That is who you break down in tears with. Like, that is your family for 6.5 weeks. So you have to deal. You got to deal. Like, even if it's people that you don't like, baby, you better put on a safe face. Because let's remember, you're still not hired. You still don't have the job. You're only in training. A lot of people don't make it through training. And there are so many reasons for that. People can be not good test takers, or English is not their first language, or they have things going on at home. Because you have to remember, I dropped everything for this job. Everything. I gave it all up. I started my life over from scratch for this job. There's a lot of people that are doing that. I didn't have someone back home who was paying bills. That was on me. So whatever I had saved up, that's all I had. Like, that was what I had to start my life over. So training was 6.5 weeks. My class was 55 people. We graduated with, I believe we lost 3. So we graduated with 52, 51, something like that, I want to say. Graduation day, I didn't invite any of my family. Now people always, Allison, why you ain't invite your family, your mama? I was at a place where I needed to start over. And that meant that graduation day was for me, about me. So I wanted to share it with me, myself. So after graduation, we had a few hours. You go to the airport. I flew back home. And I was home for settling days. I want to say you get 5 settling days. So I spent the gap time in between when my 5 settling days started. I spent them at home at my sister's house in Georgia. And then after those days were over, I moved to Chicago. And I was in a hotel for, I believe they paid for 3 nights, I want to say. That's when disclaimer, again, that's when I was in training. I don't know how to do it now, baby. I ain't been there. So, spent those days in a hotel at the airport. Mind you, I had never stepped foot in Chicago until the day that I started my job. Never been here a day in my life. Didn't know it was so. Except my roommate, because I had 3. I only personally really knew her, just knew one. The other 2 were flight attendants, but they were in the class that was behind mine, so I really didn't get to know them. I had never been to Chicago before. So thank God I had a classmate who is from Grand Rapids. So he had been to Chicago before, so he knew about how to get around, the train, stuff like that. So, he took me out. We went to, where'd we go? Oh, he took me to Gay Boys Town, honey. Oh, we had us a good old time. It was cold, y'all. I moved to Chicago in April. Beginning of April. Cold. It's a cold I never experienced ever in my life. And I lived in Japan, y'all. Chicago on a whole different level. Moved to Chicago. So I moved to a neighborhood in Chicago with 3 other flight attendants. We stayed in a 3-bedroom, 1-bath. So if you do the math, that's 4 flight attendants in a 3-bedroom, 1-bath apartment. And we stayed in the garden unit. So we stayed at the very bottom. I had my own room. Another young lady had her own room, and then the 2 girls shared a room, and they had bunk beds. Yeah, I don't know how we did it, but we did it. I don't know how we did it, but we did it. So, started a job. One thing that people do not tell you, we broke. I don't think that's something that was highlighted enough. Coming from college to work in a job that I was living paycheck to paycheck, to a new job in a new city where I have to pay rent as well and other bills, and I still have to live. I got student loans. Honey, Sally Mae, leave me alone, girl. Leave me alone. Still, you got to pay bills. Like, we were propelled into real life. If you weren't there before, honey, you were propelled, especially those of us who don't have anyone that's out there that's like, oh yeah, I can pay your rent for the first year. I had it, baby. I had to go to work. So the first year is hard. It is going to be hard. It'll make you or break you. I'll say that. After like year and a half, I hit that blues. I call it the flight attendant blues, where it's like I was living in a city. I didn't know many people. All of my friends were obviously going to be flight attendants. Dating is hard, y'all. Ooh, especially in our generation. I'm just going to marry myself. But neither here nor there. We're going to leave that alone. That's for a later date. So it was hard. But I don't want the fact that it's hard to deter you from the rewards in the end. I have some of my best friends now are flight attendants. I have met them from this job. And I have been able to do things within this job that I wouldn't have done if I didn't take that leap of faith. So for me, that leap of faith changed my life. So if I would have said no to that email when I was home for Thanksgiving back in 2016, I don't know where I'd be. I don't know what I'd be doing. I doubt I'd be in school. Let's be honest about that. I doubt that. So taking that leap of faith, even if you're scared, y'all, trust me, I was scared, honey. Scared. I did what I had to do. You just gotta take that deep breath, put on your big boy panties, and you gotta move on with your life. You have got to take that leap, because if you don't, you're going to be complacent in life, and that is definitely not where you want to be. So to wrap it all up, I love my job, y'all. I love my job. Sometimes these passengers, baby, they make you rethink everything. They make you just, you're like, Lord, do I want to be here? Can I just pop off on them and maybe they won't fire me? But you know what? I don't be doing it. You got to find a way to do it, though. We'll talk about that in a later video. How you check these people without checking these people. You feel me? Without having to lose your job. So with that being said, welcome to my channel. I'm so excited, y'all. People been telling me I should be doing this for a long time, but you know what? Sometimes you just gotta get your behind off the couch. You gotta do it. So, as always, ladies and gentlemen, blessed and beautiful. That's what we are. We are blessed and we are beautiful. And I hope to see you guys again soon. Like and subscribe down at the bottom. See y'all later.